welcome at the Moms Who Lead initiative. My name is Eve Simon, and I am very excited to talk today to Vanessa Ehlers. Vanessa is not so far away from me, also here in the Düsseldorf area, and she is the Global Head of Projects, Coordination and Digitization at Bayer. A very well-known international company, and I have to dive right in because I just love the background you have, Vanessa. It's so happy and colorful, and I think, as usually I really encourage everyone to have a natural background. This background is standing for so much what we are standing for, because moms and leaders come in all different shapes and colors. And here we are.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eve, for having me today for this brief conversation. Yeah, the background is actually very important to me, representing the Blend community at Bayer, but also, and that's why it's straight from my heart, also representing myself. I hope and I intend to have a colorful life, and I want to have diversity wherever possible. And not only, and that's what we often focus on, religion, skin color, passport, those kind of things. For me, diversity goes much deeper in terms of opinion sharing and accepting opinions and different opinions.
Absolutely. And I always love also this notion of we are all different. Everyone is different, everyone is unique. And in the same way, we are all interconnected. And that also shows your visuals so much in the background with this color splash. In your LinkedIn profile, you say, dream big, grow fast, and have fun. And that's also how I got to know you through the Future of Leadership Salon. You are always curious, a constant learner. When you bring now in also the perspective of becoming a mom, motherhood in general, you have two girls who are already teenagers, to the bridge of leadership, a lot of transition in corporate right now. How does your mindset of fun and curiosity, but think beyond, really comes into play?
First, I think having made the decision to have children was probably the most important decision of my life, besides marrying the right partner for it. And having children is a constant drive for change, because at a given point in time, they not only change you because they are there, they have requirements in their life. They also push you because they are creating their own opinion, and therefore challenge you whenever possible, just to see whether they can challenge you, just for the sake of challenging. And that creates change. And now I'm quite open to this, and that's something that I try to incorporate also into the corporate life. Because I think in general, in companies, we are way too rigid, way too rule driven, and therefore slow. And slow is not the right approach at a given point in time, and checking everything and going to 100% of security and safety for the decision doesn't help us at the moment. We need to have a conscious eye on our decisions made and accept the risk of it, and then go for it. Make it visual that there is a risk, make everyone aware, but then go for it. And if we fail, then we get up, get rid of the dust and start all over again, because I believe that success or failure is the opportunity for success. So we need to fail in order to be successful.
An extremely important point, of course, also the parallels from kids, what we learn with them and how can we bring this into corporate, but also the notion of the companies today are almost fearful, and the employees, of course, too, because they are used to follow rules, and now we cannot follow rules anymore. And I love where Rolf, the co-founder of Trivago, said, let go of the rules, concentrate on the roles. And this is also what mentioned you. But being so courageous, which you are really role modeling, learning from the mistakes and also creating a trusting environment. What do you think how you can do this? And do you think that maybe moms have more the ability, the natural skill or learned skill to do so also in business?
Being afraid is not a good guidance raising children, because we want them to climb up the tree and make that experience of climbing up and maybe sitting on top of it, not knowing how to get down again. Or maybe even halfway up, slipping with a foot and then quickly grabbing, the trunk, or the tree. Being afraid would hinder them to actually create all the abilities that they need. They need to have a blue spot on the knee, or they need to bump into something. They need to fall off their bicycle. They need to run and fall. Otherwise, they will never learn how to run. And it's the same in companies. If we are afraid of trying new things, if we are afraid of experimenting, how are we supposed to change? How are we to find out whether it's possible what we are trying to do? So relating that to my leadership and to my group, what I sense is they very often come back to the leader, looking kind of like up and saying, give me guidance, please tell me, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can tell you, I don't know, because I don't have all the details. What is it that you want to achieve with what you're doing, and what is your estimated risk for it? And then go for it, try. And my responsibility, and it's the same responsibility as a mother raising children, is when someone has a bleeding nose for trying something, don't yell at them, pick them up and pat them on the back and clear up the nose, and then say, and now we're doing it again. Now we're doing it again. We try again, differently, but we try again.
Yeah, I love this parallel. And it is also sometimes tough mother love, but it's always with a deep love and careship behind it. And that's also needed in business. And I think it's super crucial to really also give this, allowing to trust and try it out. And I have also a little one at home who climbs the biggest trees. So I hope this is the right way to go. But sometimes we also just have to let go. And especially we have to be really conscious around our own feelings and not project to others. And I think this is also part of leadership, right? Not to project and see every individual as they are and support them from there. Mm-hmm. And I love how you always say, there's not just the brain, right, in people, and you are very people driven throughout your career. There are the hands, how I do it, and then there are the hearts. And maybe you can talk about like a key experience when you really came to that everything in business is happening by people, and the hands, heart, mind is the trilogy of success.
Mm. Well, in my first job at Bayer Direct Services, we had a very critical situation with regards to payroll, and this was so difficult to solve that it couldn't just be done by one person. No way. So I remember calling one day, and it was a project. It was not related to the employees at Bayer themselves. It was a project where we did a carve out. And I remember calling on a Friday afternoon, multiple colleagues, and they all came simply because I called them and I said, guys, we need your help. We need your brains. We need to put it all together. And it's the hand that is kind of like making the change in an IT system. But the brain needs to be there and to be aware of what needs to be done. And you need to have the right people and the right brains in the room. And it's never only one person. It's always a group of people who know. And then you need to understand that there is a group of people at stake, that they might not getting paid, but not getting the right amount paid. And put yourself into the shoes of those people. Would you like to experience this kind of situation with having a house to pay for, a family to feed, kids to send to school, and they have specific needs that you need to be taken care of? And if you put, this is the heart, and if you think like that, then everything falls into place. If you can sell that and say, guys, it's not only about your hands, it's not only about your brains, but please bring your hearts, because we need to be as creative as possible, because otherwise other people might not have the money to do all this, what I just described. And then and I think we're getting more. I just read recently an article about this, that we are moving from hand-driven labor to brain-driven labor, where we are currently in, to heart-driven labor. I don't recall that article, but it stuck with me, that we are kind of like in this transformation process, that it's more important to think and act with the heart, without, and that's important, without kind of like getting rid of the brain, because the brain is still necessary. So an AI, now relating to this digitalization topic that we're in, an AI can never replace the decision making and the creativity of a human being and the heart. An AI will simply make a cold-blooded decision, but we sometimes need to add this heart in order to be still human and to make humankind decisions, because we want that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Salesforce, I hired a CEO, the Chief Ethical Officer, and very, very much targeting to bringing that human element and the ethics into AI. And it also reminds me, you also have a background in China, and Jack Ma, he always speaks about the LQ, the love quotient, and the love intelligence behind this, and how important that is. It gives us the uniqueness again and the connection overall. So I also want to target a little bit, how did you do that, Vanessa, over all these years? Kids are a little older. I also read you were for a while in transition manager. And I love that saying, when you took a break for corporate family healers, right?
Yeah.
And then you moved back. So we are lucky here in Germany that we can take that year or sometimes even 3 years off for the children to be fully present, nowadays even shared with the father. But how was that for you when you look back, your career before your children, then with the little children, now with the more independent children, related also to your leadership and your business presence and career?
Well, looking back at the career, and I just recently had a conversation with another woman about that. We are basically, or from my understanding, we have been often seen as a threat. With all what we bring, but we are seen as a threat. So I came into business at a 25-year-old woman. So as soon as I turned 27, 28, she's gonna get married anyhow. So, and then with that, and then I got married, and then okay, career, she's gonna have children anyhow. So, and then we have children, and suddenly, yeah, she's gonna be off work because of her children. I heard this so many times, you know, this kind of like stereotype that this is gonna happen, and this happens with men too. Yeah, differently kind of like in terms of they drop out for other reasons. They might get sick, or they might change the career more often. They opt out for whatever reason. But we are, as human beings, always a risk. But shouldn't we be seen as an opportunity?
Yeah.
And that's this transformation, like looking at this and analyzing it and saying, okay, yeah, it might be that way, but I can turn it around and say I bring so much to the table, simply because of my experience. And if anyone sees me as a threat because of items that are integral and important to me as a person, then the problem is not with me. The problem is with the other person. And I leave it there. So this coming up with this transformation officer or family transformation or whatever manager I used, I think, was kind of like an euphemistic way of saying, guys, yeah, I'm doing here something that is also valuable to me as a person, because I grew tremendously personally when we moved to China. It was probably the 5 years was kind of like the explosion behind me. And I would never regret that. Also for the children, I was so much challenged, like, what are you going to do with your children? Smilla was 2.5 years old at that time, and Madita was 6 years. She went into first grade in China. So I was challenged, what are you going to do with your children? And I replied, would you ask the same question to my husband?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, well, then what? Leave it to me and my husband and my family to make those decisions. And we were so successful. It was success in terms of learning culture, learning the ability to change into certain situations, accepting situations that you have a hard time to accept by just saying it's different, but it's not wrong. Because that's what we often intend to do when we go abroad. We see something that is different. We say, this is wrong. No, it's wrong from my cultural background, but it's right in the cultural background that we are currently living in. So it's just different. And that helps a lot on this process, of transitioning into something new. So, and if we see it as a fun challenge, and that's why I relate to, grow fast, dream big. I mean, China was a big dream of mine, or of us, both of us. And then grow fast is kind of like take everything in that you can possibly take in, and then don't judge on it, and then have fun. Spend the money on traveling, spend the money on learning, whatever you have, go into it and full with your full body and your full personality, and then everything else falls into place.
I love it. I almost get like goosebumps just thinking about it. It's so passionate and powerful how you step up as a, maybe not even intentional, but very courageous role model to your children, to your 2 daughters, but also to everyone around you, right? Follow your dreams, think big, make it happen. And well, if it's not happening, laugh about it, learn about it, and adjust. And I mean, we all know how valuable it is to really live in another culture and bring that back. And that's what we're often also missing in our international infrastructures nowadays, as people think very linear and don't have that wide perspective and are not able to tap into this different perspective. And for me, that's also leading to another question is, we as moms are often threatened or feel like a threat to others because they judge us what might happen when we have children and so on. On the other hand, it's clearly proven that we bring a lot of leadership skills, future leadership skills to the plate, which are very important for future success, including the sustainability thinking, the innovative spirit, and so on. But also for me, a total perspective change is that everything we do in business, for society, needs to have a purpose. If that's not for next generation, we don't need to do it. Mm-hmm. It's really hand in hand. And in Asia, we always check in with the question, is that still a good decision for the next 7 generations? We're not asked this question here so much. And so I think stepping out, taking more care of children is, on one hand, a duty, a responsibility, and a gift for whole society. And so I just want to really bring that out too, that we really need to shift this perspective. It's not a threat, it's a benefit, and it's part of the systemic circle.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to another question, which I want to explore for you. Like being a mom, we are always concerned about how our children grow up, right? Choosing the right schools, choosing the right environment, what kind of food we give them, clothes, and so on. What do you think is
Sometimes
right?
we're getting a little bit nuts over this.
I know. I'm totally with you. Super nuts. On the other hand, we have to figure it out, and we might not always figure it out because kids are individual, and maybe whatever we had as good intention is not turning out so good is fine too. But when I think about this thoughts of what's best for this generation, it has a lot to do for me with systemic change. And we have 17 sustainability goals, which probably no one really knows what these are. And there are so much more pressing parts we need to look at. What do you think as a business leader and as a mom, what do you think is right now the most urgent factor we really have to shift to create that healthy future?
Whoa, this is a very wide and generic question. What do we need to shift in order to have a healthy future? I think we need to solve our problem with providing each and every company with electricity. Yeah, we need to, this power problem is something that we need to solve. I mean, the discussion going on in the European Union with regard to gas and nuclear power being sustainable, it's pathetic from my point of view. And I'm really happy that actually the German government decided that nuclear power is not sustainable. Thank God. Yeah, I'm the generation, I can still visualize the green politicians sitting in the parliament in Germany with those sunflowers and against nuclear power, kind of like with you know, they were kind of like knitting and stuff. I still have that, and I have Chernobyl still in my brain. I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and that scared me to death. So I really think we need to solve that problem and push for that. I know it's not easy, but there are certain groups pushing and being creative about that. That's one thing. Well, the entire topic of digitization will help us, and blockchain, I think, will help us to solve certain trust problems. I mean, in the beginning, it will be difficult because we've also seen that cryptocurrencies vanished from one night to the other in some accounts. So it's not bulletproof yet, but we will get there, and we need to get there. Because I think blockchain is a way to solve trust problems. Education, still worthwhile topic, not so modern, not so new, but education is the key. Also to the situation that we are currently in with COVID-19 and the pandemic, that people are not getting vaccinated or still hesitating has something to do with lack of education and understanding for the processes behind, how pharma companies are acting in order to ensure that those vaccines are safe. This is only understood by people who are educated in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of big topics. So we have a lot to do as individuals and with companies to use this power we have to steer in the right direction. I would love to close with a personal question. When you think about the younger generation, maybe in this verge of, oh, it's better not to put children on this planet because the planet is not healthy, or I don't want to give up my career. What would you say to this younger self as a tip now looking back?
First, before getting there, I would like to add that looking at a career, looking at maybe my way of life or your way of life might look intimidating to young women saying, how did they get there? Whoa, they're so courageous. Whoa, I haven't been that way when I started out. I pretended to be courageous, and people received me as self-reflected and self-competent and all this, but I wasn't really. It was kind of like playing a role, and I still have my moments. I'm still afraid, and I'm anxious, and I'm thinking spiders. I hate spiders. So, but I try to cope with it by using facts, and that's what I would like to use as a guardrail to young women. When you think about not having children, because the world is so messed up, and we might die tomorrow, maybe the sun will not be there in 10 years time, or we're gonna have an Armageddon because something will hit use facts, use data, read books about the topics that you're most anxious about, and then make a decision, instead of going into this blurry kind of like discussion going on, oh no, it's not a good idea, the world is so messed up, it's better not to have children, because children are the best thing that you can do. So I would advocate for that. It's the best decision I've ever made. I said that in the beginning. I think it's the best decision that I've ever made, having children. They're so much fun. They will keep you encouraged in what is going on. They will push you, they will ask you questions. And because I have children, I pulled out half of the bulbs that we have, lightning bulbs that we have in our apartment, to save electricity. I'm using dry soap now in the shower, shampoo, all this, in order to not produce the plastic wrapping. Even though I think plastic is also a good way to recycle, and we need it in certain aspects of our industries. We cook 5 times of the week without meat, without any animal product, only 2 times a week, 1 time fish, 1 time meat. Those are the things that we can do, and this is because I have children. They made me aware of those little things that I can do. I'm not going to change the world with that, but I can change my world, and by us, each one of us, changing our world, we're going to change the entire planet.
I love that. I have nothing to say more. I hope a lot of people will hear your wisdom. And Vanessa, thank you so much. I can't wait to continue this conversation. Really, let's do it. Let's be courageous. And I love also the look into facts, because our fears are often realities, and they can be taken from us by looking at facts we see right now, and also the trust in it's all possible when you want to do it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Eve.
Thank you so much.
For your wonderful questions.